During the duration of the webinar, we are going to ask that you please keep yourself on mute and keep your video off. We just want to keep the focus on the speaker. If you're having trouble seeing Ron, you can change your view on the upper right-hand corner to speaker view. Ron is going to share his screen here in just a minute and go over a few things with you guys. I also wanted to remind everyone, we are announcing our raffle winner tonight. So thank you for everyone who was at our last webinar and sent me those emails. I really appreciate you. Without further ado, Ron Corser, CFP, is going to go over, will we have enough money to retire?
Well, good evening. Thank you all for tuning in to today's little short subject matter called retirement income planning. But the real key to this is, will my money last? It's a question as people get close to retirement. All of us ask it. I have. Everyone on today's program has listened to it and said, you know what? I wonder if I have enough. I wonder if my money is going to last. It's a question that really needs to be answered, and it needs to be answered in depth. This is not a 3-hour webinar here, so we will take one part that I think is a really important part. It's called sequence of return risk. It's something that we all face, whether we're getting ready to retire or we've been in a retirement for a few years. But it's one of those risks that's a lot of times is not quantified. It's not brought up. I like to bring it up because I think it's that important. So we're going to take a look and talk about a brother and a sister, Bill and Jill, and when they retired and how their retirement worked out for them in going forward for 10 years. So we're going to go to the whiteboard here. And the issue is, will my money last? How do we know that? Well, let's take a look and see. There's Bill. And then here's his sister, Jill. And they both retired with $500,000. Let me find a place for that. I'll go a little easier. They both retired with $500,000. And they were going to take out $30,000 a year to live on. Now, here's the first question for those of you who are tuned in.
Hey, Ron,
if you haven't,
I'm going to have you pause for a second and ask you share your screen so the participants can see what you're discussing.
Anybody, Beth?
So far, no one has responded.
Okay, I'm going to put it down there at 6%. Is that too high? Is that too low? It really depends on the personal situation. What we're going to do, we're going to just say that this is what they're doing. So let's go back, way back. Remember the Wayback Machine with Bullwinkle and Rocky, and they did all that? So let's go back to the year 2000. Bear with me here. And we'll make this 2010. And then we'll make this 2020. Bill retired in 2000. He'd retired with $500,000. He had just come through 5 glorious years. All of you remember how it was back in the late 90s when markets just went through the roof. I can remember, I got in this business in 1994, and I can remember talking to people who were in their late 40s saying, and this is 1998, 1999, they were going to retire in 5 years. Because the way the market was going, they were going to have all the money they needed to retire. And sometimes I would just shake my head and say, I hope it works. But Bill was one of those guys. He did well. So he retired here in 2000. And what happened in the markets in 2000? They had an amazing run up in the previous decade. And in 2000, they kind of started out all right. Then they absolutely collapsed. Got a little 9/11 in there. They started to come back up again, and then they still went down. So it was a really amazing decade because the S&P 500 was lower January 1, 2010 than when we started in 2000. In fact, the average rate of return for that decade was a little over -3%. So imagine that. Imagine going through 10 years of investment experience and the average annualized return of the S&P 500 was -3%. So we're going to take a look and see what happened to Bill in his portfolio. So this is Bill's portfolio. He did exactly what everybody told him to do. You know, you can't beat the market. You just go in and get an S&P 500 index fund, something with low expenses, and ride the market. This is Jill. It's not what I want. So here we go with Bill. And that's exactly what he did. So he took out $30,000 a year every year because that's what he needed to live on. But look what happened to his experience the first 3 years. And we're talking about something called sequencer return risk. And that's the risk of having a negative market return 2, 3, 4 years before or right after you retire. It's called the red zone. So he ran right into the teeth of it, the poor guy. You know, the 2000 market happened. I remember watching MSNBC in the morning, and it was just before March when the NASDAQ collapsed. And the NASDAQ had just gone over 5,000. And there was a guy on there who says, it's going to 6,000. This thing is just going to keep going up and up. And the NASDAQ cracked in the end of March, and then the whole market started to go down. And we had 9/11, a whole bunch of things happened. But that was a really tough 3-year period. But he's still taking out the money because he needed it. So look at what happened to his balances. The balances went down. And then he had a couple good years, actually 4 of them, not bad. And he kind of was holding his own. And then this terrible 2008 debacle happened. So let's sit back for a minute and say, Bill came through the 90s in great shape. He had great expectations that the market would continue to go up, that his retirement plan would work, that he could take 6% out of his $500,000 to supplement Social Security and a pension, and that he would always have the money he needed. Unfortunately, we see what happened. He ended up at that decade with 96,000. So think about this. He started out with 500,000. He took out 10 years worth of payments, 300,000, and he ended up with 96,000. This is one of those instances where, and I've had people say this, I would have been better off if I just put the money in my mattress. So let's pretend that in 2000 he did that. He got 500 crisp $1,000 bills, put them in his mattress, and every year he would take out 30. So at the end of 10 years, he started with 5,000, he took out 300,000. He would have ended up with $200,000 in his mattress. This is one of those times where the mattress outdid the market. And I don't know how else to explain it, but that was a tough time for him. That really was. Now, let's take a look at baby sister Jill. I gotta go back. Gotta stop this. And then
Share screen.
share the screen. Go back here. So let's see what happened to Jill. She retired in 2010 with the same 500,000 and take the same amount of money out. What happened to her? Well, let's see. The markets in 2010 started to go up. We had some really great years, a little downside, then 2019 happened, but then it went up. And we had this incredible boom market like this. For that 10-year period that Jill experienced, the market averaged about a 13% gain. So they did exactly the same thing. They had exactly the same amount of money, $500,000, took out exactly the same amount. Bill started the decade, or the decade we called that the lost decade, where the average annual returns were -3, had a couple of real bad experiences. Jill, on the other hand, ran into all that government spending and throwing money around, and the markets responded very positively. So what happened to hers? Let's take a look at what happened to Jill here. So I did it incorrectly again. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having trouble with my pencil. I need Jill. Okay, we're getting there. There we go. So here's Jill. Thank you. I'm always amazed with this stuff. You practice and practice, and sometimes you need to practice more. So thank you. So here's what happened to Jill. She retired in 2010. She's taking out the very same 30,000 a year, starting with 500,000. She's had a remarkable experience, hasn't she? This whole decade has averaged about a 13% rate of return. She had one market with making it flat. This one was down a little. 2018 was not pleasant. And even 2020 with the COVID turned out to be a very positive experience. And she ended up doing the very same thing, taking out 300,000. She ended up with $1 million. So what was the difference here? You know, they say in real estate that it's all about location, location, location. And when it comes to retirement planning and income planning in retirement, it's always about timing, timing, timing. We simply don't know what the next decade, let alone the next year, or sometimes even the next day is going to bring. So that creates a dilemma for us. If we want to retire and we've done this great work of saving, how do we figure out, how do we create an income plan in retirement that'll give us all the income we need to retire and maintain our lifestyle? Nobody wants to lose lifestyle. Everybody wants to hold on to their lifestyle. So the question becomes, how do we do that? And I'm going to see if we can go back here to here. Bill ran into a really terrible decade. Jill didn't. So how do we deal with this? This is called something sequence or returns risk. There's a risk of having a loss early, in retirement, just before, just after. And it doesn't have to be a big one like Bill had. It can be a smaller one, but it impacts all of us. So how do we do this? What's the secret? So let's take a look. The number one thing we need to do in dealing with sequence of returns risk is to create an income plan. What is that? That's where you sit down and you take a look at all the protected, guaranteed sources of income you have. It could be from inherited money in an annuity, Social Security, a pension if you're blessed with that, and put it all together to see how much income is going to be coming in when you retire. Now, let's suppose that all adds up to $4,000 a month, but you need $5,500 a month or $6,000 a month. You've got an income gap, the difference between what you need to $6,000 and what's coming in with protected or guaranteed sources of money, either through inheritance in an annuity of some kind, Social Security or pension. How do you make up that income gap? Well, that's what an income plan is designed to do. This is the number one objective in dealing with the question of, will my money last? It's important that the first step you take is to create a retirement income plan where all the sources of income coming in. How much is that? What do I want? What do I need to maintain my lifestyle? If there's a discrepancy, a gap, where are you going to get the extra money from? Well, you can also get it, right? You can take it from the market. You can do exactly what Bill did and Jill did. For Bill, it didn't work out so good because he was taking all of the extra income he needed, the $30,000 a year, he was taking it out of his life savings in a stock market-based investment strategy. Jill, on the other hand, did the very same thing, but fortunately for her, the market went up, so it worked beautifully. So what's the solution? Yeah, I know, figure out what the next decade is going to be like. I can try to help with that, but my crystal ball busted last month, so I've kind of been on short end of trying to help with that. So the key really is to say, how do we create an income plan that gives us all the income we need on a monthly or annual basis to maintain our lifestyle? That's the key. If you have a gap in there, you have to figure out where you're going to get that gap filled and how you're going to do it. Yes, you can just do it all from the stock market and hope it works. And I hope it does. And it may. It did for Jill. Bill, it didn't work. Or you can take a portion of this money and put it into an investment that will give you what I call lifetime income. That's some sort of an annuity product. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's a way you can guarantee cash flow. And then once you have your income plan, and that can take up maybe 40 to 50% of your plan, then you do what we call an investment strategy. And you figure out and you create an investment strategy, yes, that can give you some extra income for the fun things in life, like going to Disneyland with the family, creating memories, that kind of thing, and different kinds of things that you can put into that plan that will give you the best opportunity to have a positive rate of return and as little possible as risk as you can possibly hold on to. It's all about risk-adjusted returns. So the income plan does two things. You create an income plan for yourself that gives you what you need month in, month out, whether the markets go up or go down. Yesterday, the market went down. Today, it went up. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But then you have this investment plan because here's a couple other things that you need to deal with. One is taxes. Another one is inflation. Another one is who knows what, whatever the government's going to come after us for. So the income plan gives you the income you need on a monthly and annual basis. You don't have to worry if the market goes up or goes down. You create an investment strategy for yourself that will give you the best possible opportunity to have growth and with a minimum amount of risk. And also the plan has to take into consideration the impact of taxes and inflation. You know, I read an interesting article 2 weeks ago. And there's a pretty smart guy who wrote it, and he talked about the roadblocks, if you will, the speed bumps to retirement planning. And he used the example of somebody who had $1 million. And isn't that a great thing if you've saved $1 million or more in retirement? You've done really well. And his response to this is good, but that's not all the money that's yours. And as you read through the article, he said, you know, if you have a 20 or 30-year retirement, inflation is going to eat away at about a third of that money in terms of purchasing power minimally, unless we have some crazy inflation. Taxes are probably going to take another quarter to a third of that. So he said, you know, just between those two things, that $1 million is not really $1 million. You've got maybe half at best. And that was kind of sobering and eye-opening to me to read it. I've talked about it, but sometimes I have these outer body experiences when I read what other advisors or CPAs do when they analyze things, because that's really the truth. That's why this sequence of returns risk is an incredibly important risk to deal with. You do that with an income plan, and you do that then creating an investment plan, also with an idea of, look, taxes are always going to be here. If taxes are going to be here, does a Roth make sense for us? That's just one of the things you tackle in this income plan. So will the next decade be kind to everybody listening to today's program? I hope so. I really do. But hope isn't a really good plan. You really need something in concrete. So an income plan is key with an investment plan layered on top of it that deals with taxes and who knows what other kind of strategies might make some sense. The key is so that when you lay your head down at night on the bed, you know that tomorrow you're still going to have the income you need to maintain your retirement lifestyle. Isn't that what everybody wants? That's what I want for my family. It's what I want for you, my clients who are tuned in today. So sequence of returns risk is real. It needs to be really handled up front before you do a lot of other things. And you do that by doing an income plan and then creating an investment strategy that makes sense for you. So the key question always comes here. We're going to have a raffle in a minute. Why do we do what we do here? Why do we take time to do this for you, our clients, and some of you who are just kind of tuning in to get more information? Retirement planning is not the most simple thing to do. There's a lot of speed bumps and potential things down there that can create stress in people's lives. What we try to do is create as stress-free retirement plan as possible. We're passionate about this. So this is an educational event. Why do we do them? I want you to know more things. I want everybody here to walk away saying, you know what? I learned a little something that perhaps I didn't really know before, and I'm going to do something about it so that sequence of returns risk doesn't impact my retirement going down the road. So we're passionate about just educating and helping people. But the other reason is this, and we're really focused on it as a firm. We want to help people get through the next decade. You know, when we do our own in-house meetings, we meet every other week or so. We call them campfire meetings. One of the things we usually focus on is how do we get our clients, how do we get the people we care about through the next 10 years? Because there's a lot of turmoil out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I'm not just talking about the political part, the economic part. I mean, we're all kind of walking around wondering, is this thing going to end? Is this bubble going to burst? I don't know. But we're really passionate about helping people get through this, through the next 10 years, through the next 20 years. So here's what I'm offering to you. If you've come away with something that'll help you going forward, bless you. I'm happy to be able to say that we helped you with this. It makes us feel good. But we're also passionate about helping you, our clients, and those of you who aren't with our firm. If you would like to sit down and talk about these things, if something's joggled your mind and said, you know what, maybe I should just go and see Ron, have a cup of coffee, and just have a real nice general conversation about these things to see what we can do to make sure that my retirement plan is as sound and solid as it can be in terms of giving me all the income I need in retirement. So why do we do this? I want you to be educated. Why do we do this? We're passionate about helping people get through today, the next 10 years, safely and securely as possible so that their retirement plan, their plan for their family, their legacy stays intact. So if you'd like to perhaps have a conversation with us, and that's all it is, here's what happens. If you put your name into the box there and said, I want to talk to Ron, I want to talk to Nolan, or I have some questions, just put your information in there and Beth will contact you and we'll set up either a phone appointment, if that's all you'd like. If you'd like to come into the office and have a cup of coffee, my wife's going to start doing her oatmeal raisin white chocolate icing cookies here shortly. I think we're going to be safe to do that. We can have that kind of a conversation. Do you have to bring anything in? No, you don't. It might help if you bring some of your financial documents in, but it's not a requirement. It's really sitting down. Again, even if you're my client, it's sitting down and getting to know you kind of all over again to say, look what's going on around us. What is it we can do or need to do so that sequence of returns doesn't come up and bite us in the back? So if any of this is important to you, give us a call. Just put your name and number in there and we'll get a hold of you very soon. Now, here's the fun part. Beth has got this giant hat. She's going to pick out a name. Somebody's going to win an incredible gift. And the way you do this is just make sure you have put in your information into the chat box so we can do this, because next week or next year we do this, when we do the next one, we're going to put all you guys in there and you'll be back into the potential to win another gift. So thank you for tuning in. Bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Beth, take it away.
The winner is Ken Hendricks. Ken, you're going to be receiving an email from me. You have won a gift basket from Harry and David.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Ken.
And if anybody else would like to enter the raffle, please email me any financial topics, any questions, anything that's on your mind. Or if you just simply say, Beth, I want to be entered in the raffle, go right ahead. For the month of August, we are taking a break from doing a webinar, but we'll start this all back up again in September. So pay attention to our website to see what the next and upcoming things are. And does anybody have any questions? You guys have been very quiet during this webinar tonight. Did anyone have any questions about anything?
Maybe it was a little too scary, but yeah, if anybody has a question, I can answer them now, or you can give us a call and I'll do the very best I can to answer them then. So thanks for tuning in, folks. This has been a real fun event for me, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Bless you and take care.
Ron, do you want to just talk about annuities for a minute? What's good? What's bad about them? Somebody did.
What in about annuities? Yeah, okay. What is an annuity? You know, there's a lot of confusion about them. There's a lot of bad press out there and some good press. What is an annuity? There's two kinds of annuities. One is a variable annuity. It just has, it's an insurance wrapper with a lot of mutual funds in it. It has no guarantee of principal, and it can have some pretty good expenses in them. Those are the kind of annuities that get most of the grief in the publications. There's another kind of annuity called a fixed, F-I-X-E-D. It's jargon. It just means it's a principal protected account. The variable annuity is an account that's just a substitute for the stock market. Just another option. That's all. There's commissions on it, fees, that kind of thing. The fixed annuity is a substitute for the old-time bank money, where, you know, if you put money in a CD, they would pay 4, 5, or 6%, give you a toaster. You would do that in a heartbeat. That's probably not happening anymore, at least for a long time. So the purpose of a fixed annuity is to put part of your assets into a principal protected account. It is principal protected, but the annuity does something nothing else can do. It can be created and put together in such a way that it can create lifetime income, sometimes even on an increasing basis, that you can never outlive, ever. It's like a Social Security payment or pension payment. It goes on and on and on. But here's the really neat thing about it. When it comes to Social Security, we both know that with a married couple, when a spouse dies, one of the Social Security payments go away. With some annuities and some that we use with clients for this, to fill this income gap, they can be structured in such a way that if one spouse dies, the surviving spouse continues to get the income. And if that spouse dies and there's still money left in it, your beneficiaries get it, your kids get it, your grandkids get it. So in a nutshell, an annuity is a contract with an insurance company, properly structured and designed. It can be created and put into a portfolio that will give you predictable, guaranteed income that you cannot outlive. And that can be an important part of a portfolio. It's not right for all your money. It's something that everybody should at least take a look at and see if it fits, if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, don't do it. If it does make some sense, consider doing it. We use them a lot with clients. I personally own them in my own portfolio. My wife does too. But that's no reason for you guys to do it or not do it. So that's what an annuity is. It's a contract with an insurance company. And depending on how it's designed, particularly if it's a fixed or principal protected annuity, it's a great source of guaranteed predictable income. Good question.
I didn't receive any other questions at the moment. Oh, actually, Chris had just messaged in and she said, what about the effect of income continuing to work? If one can draw on Social Security and continue to work as close to the FT as possible, will taxes on the amount make this unfeasible? The full retirement age is what she's talking about.
So if I understand the question, say that again, so I understand it.
So I think what Chris is saying is, what if they work all the way up until their full retirement age and then started collecting Social Security, continue to work? Is that feasible to do even with taxes?
Yes. Yeah. If you can work up to your full retirement age on Social Security, there's no giving up a benefit if you continue to work. If you take Social Security early, say at 62, you will take about a 25% reduction in your full retirement age Social Security benefit. But the other part is if you're under your full retirement age, and that might be 67 for a lot of people tuned in, or 66 in 4 months, whatever it is. If you work, there are income limits as to how much money you can make before you have to start giving back some of your Social Security benefits. So one of the key points, and this, I digress for a minute, one of the key points in income planning is to understand when somebody's going to retire and when to take Social Security. One of the things we do as part of this whole income plan is do a Social Security analysis for our clients or potential clients, because that gives you 3 or 4 options as to when you can take, or what's the best option to take Social Security. One spouse works, one doesn't, all the different variables involved, because there is some taxation involved. Social Security, if you're at full retirement age, you can work for as long as you want, make as much money as you want. You will never give back benefits because you make too much money. But what can happen is a portion of your Social Security benefit, up to 85% of it, can be put back into the taxation issue to see if they can use it as taxable income. So that's one of the things that we talk about in the income plan, because it may be possible to create an income plan that minimizes the impact on your Social Security benefit before or after full retirement age. We can manage the tax issue if possible for people. So that's a great question. And that's another piece of this whole retirement income plan that we really help people with. Good question. Who else?
So Chris did elaborate and said that she wanted to work full-time and take out Social Security. I warned her that while you're taking Social Security, you are limited on the amount of income you can intake. You could be penalized if you do that.
Yeah, here's what happens. If you're under full retirement age, let's say it's 62, you're allowed to make about $18,900, I think, right now. For every $2 over that amount in W-2 wages, you give back $1 in benefits. So one of the issues in working and taking Social Security benefits is, how does this work? How much money can I make without giving back benefits? Because why would somebody want to take Social Security and then make so much money that they give all their benefits back? So it's a calculation we can help people with, because we do the Social Security analysis as part of creating the income plan. It's really important. Does that help?
I believe so. I don't see any other questions. I'll ask everyone one last time.
Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great evening.